Hi, I'm Denny, and I'm going to show you how to make titles and credits using Windows Movie Maker. The basic title is usually a blue screen with white letters. You've seen it before in Movie Maker. Be a little bit more creative than that, will ya? There's all kinds of things you can do with these titles and credits if you just use a little bit of imagination.
Movie Maker titles come in two different flavors, a one-line title or a two-line title. When you're using a one-line title, it's all primary text. When you have a two-line title, you have not only the primary text, but secondary text, which appears smaller and below the primary text. We're going to start out by making a title for the pictures from the Bronx Zoo. I've got this rhinoceros statue here, and I want to have a title in front of it. So I'm going to go over and click the Tasks button up here at the top. That'll change the taskbar on the side, and I choose Make Titles or Credits from there. This is going to be at the beginning, so I'll choose that option. And in the top box, the top portion of the box, I type the main title, which is going to be Bronx Zoo Trip. And in the lower part of the box, I'm going to type in 2008. So now the preview window shows me what I'm going to end up with. All I have to do is click Done, Add Title to Movie, and down below the title box shows up, and then the slide. And when I hit the play button up here in the preview, Bronx Zoo Trip, and bam, there's the slide.
Boring.
First thing I'm going to do to make this look a little nicer is add a transition in between the two slides. So I'm just going to go up to the top of the screen, click Video Transitions, find the transition I like. I'm going to drag it down and drop it between the two slides. Notice that the two slides suddenly overlap each other slightly. Now what I want to do is I'm going to stretch out the first and the second slide here. So I'm going to click on the first slide. When I see a two-headed red arrow, I'm going to click and hold the left mouse button and drag it out. Now watch the timing on that down in the little pop-up box there. I'm going to go out to about 9 seconds here. Okay. Now I'm also going to stretch out the first slide of the slideshow and do the same technique, drag it out about 9 seconds or so. And now I'm going to click on the second slide, click and hold, and adjust the timing of that overlap. You see that blue ramp there? The longer the ramp, the longer the transition. The shorter the ramp, the shorter the transition. So I want kind of a nice gradual transition from one slide to the other, so I'm going to do it like that. I've got that fade transition in between. So let's play that and see what it looks like up here. There it is, Bronx Zoo Trip. Now it's going to slowly transition to the rhino picture, and there you have it. What title could be more boring than this white text on the blue background with the Microsoft Sans Serif font? It usually is the first thing that pops up with Windows Movie Maker, but you don't have to stick with that. You can change things up a little. Once you have your title on your screen here, or if you want to change what you've got, just double click on the box, click the font and color box here. This little button right here changes the background color. I'm going to make it screaming yellow. Now I've got white letters on a yellow background, so I want those letters to stand out. I'm going to change the letters to black. Click OK. Black letters on a yellow background. Let's change the font. Microsoft Sans Serif. I'll bet if you click on your thing, you've got hundreds of different fonts you can choose from. Find something that looks a little bit more like what you want it to look like. You want it to look like that? That's fine. Take that one. This one I like. So I'm going to stick with Comics Heavy. Click Done. And now I'm ready to play my Bronx Zoo Trip 2008, and here comes the rhino. Creating a title at the beginning of a movie, before a selected clip, or after a selected clip results in a new slide being created on the timeline. The title itself will be in its own frame. However, creating a title on a selected clip is entirely different. This time I'm going to make the Bronx Zoo 2008, and I'm going to put it on top of the original slide that's down there. The first slide, you'll see the preview window shows the words on top of a picture. When I click Done, Add Title to Movie, it doesn't show up at the bottom as a separate slide, but it shows up down here in the title overlay line. And that can be adjusted, move it left or right, move it wherever you want, stretch it out. When you hit the play button up here, you'll notice that the words are now on top of the picture itself. The next technique that I'm going to show you requires me to do two things. I need to create a blank background for my slide title, and I need to create a duplicate of that background but in a different color. So I'm going to click Make Titles or Credits, and I'm just going to click at the beginning because I don't have anything going on there right now. And notice right now that the Done Add Title to Movie option isn't available. You have to have something typed in on the page in order to be able to make a blank slide. So in order to fool Windows Movie Maker, just press the space bar one time. As soon as you press the space bar, notice that Done Add Title to Movie is now available. When I click the OK button, I'm going to end up with a blue box down in the bottom in the timeline. Now I want a green box exactly like this, just an empty box. I could go back up to the title connection here and make that box again, but this time in green or orange or whatever color I want. But rather than do that, all I have to do is put my pointer on the box, press the control key, click the mouse button, drag over, and then release. It creates a second box exactly like the first one. This works with titles or it works with the backgrounds, either way. Now I want this to be a different color, so I'm going to double click it. It brings up my color option again, so I give that a click. I can click the box, pick up the color that I want to choose, click OK, click Done, and down below I now have a blue box and I have a green box. And we'll be using that technique in the next step. Now I'm going to do a title that's a little bit more advanced. I'm going to start out with an orange screen this time with yellow lettering. Now this is going to look very similar to an early one, but watch the lettering. Notice how they stay on the screen while the background disappears. So how do you create that effect? Well, first thing you have to do is create an empty title box. So I'm just going to click title at the beginning, and I'm going to press the space bar one time and just make sure that the color of the box that I want is orange. Then I'm going to click OK. I'm going to just hit the add button here when I'm done, and I have an orange box. Now I made the title earlier. This is Bronx Zoo Trip 2008. All I got to do is adjust the timing of this by stretching it out a little bit so that it extends beyond the first box and onto the second box. I'm also going to put a fade between the two. I'm just going to click and drag this over just a tiny bit so that they overlap just a bit. That creates a fade, and let's see what it looks like as a finished product. There's the words stay, the background goes. The words go, and that's the end. Here's a little trick that's kind of interesting. It's a color changing effect. Watch the title on the preview window. It starts out yellow and then changes to green. Very simple to do. To do the color change effect, there's a couple different ways you can do it, but I'm going to show you just one. You can figure the other one out on your own. What I did is I made a orange background with yellow lettering. Very simple. Now I'm going to go down to the timeline, and I'm going to make an exact copy of this by holding the control key, clicking and holding the slide with the left mouse button, drag it over and let go. Now I have two slides that are exactly the same. All I need to do is change the colors of the letter on the second slide. So I'm going to double click it, go up and click change the color. The lettering I'm going to change to green, say OK, and then done. Now I've got one with yellow lettering, one with green lettering. To make them fade from one to the next, I'm going to click and hold, drag the slide a little bit to the left here, and during the overlap, that's where the fade happens. Let me rewind it and play it in the preview window. There's the yellow lettering, fades to green lettering. That's it. Making credits is very similar to making titles. The only difference is when you make credits, you have a primary text box at the top, and then you have below that a table-like device that has a left column and a right column. Now the left column is your secondary text and your right column is the primary text. So you can put information about who did the photography or who arranged the slideshow or what the date was. And what I like to do is, so toward the bottom I will usually take the words "the end" and put it about 3 lines down. So I'm going to delete it from here, come down to this frame, paste it in there like that, and then I can click done. And if I want to see that result over here, I press the play button and you'll see there's my primary text at the top. Then you have a secondary, a primary, a secondary, a primary, and so forth. Don't be afraid to try changing the animation of your credits or your titles while you're doing this. We have the scroll up, we have the exploding, which gives you this effect here. And then the next item, video top left, we have the scrolling this effect here. So don't be afraid to try using different animations when you're making your titles and your credits.